Jun's hands shook as he climbed, boots slipping on the ladder rungs. Elias climbed behind him, one hand on the pry bar hooked through his belt, the other steadying Jun's ankle when the boy's foot wobbled. Ralph did not climb like a cat. He climbed like a certainty. He sprang to the first rung, then the next, claws catching metal with effortless precision. Halfway up, he paused and looked down, watching the yard. The aliens emerged from the shimmering seam below, heads snapping upward. They clicked sharply, irritated at the loss of easy prey. One alien started up the ladder, movements fast and jointed. Elias bared his teeth. "Keep going, Jun. Don't stop." They reached the platform near the top, an observation deck for comms maintenance. A waist-high rail circled it. The whole tower trembled with distant impacts. Jun scrambled over the edge and collapsed, panting. Elias hauled himself up and turned as the alien climbed closer. Ralph stood at the platform's lip, directly above the ladder opening, tail low, fur spiked. The alien's eyes fixed on Ralph. It clicked, low, deliberate. A challenge. Ralph answered with silence. Then he yawned. A full, slow yawn that bared teeth and indifference together. The alien froze. Its claws tightened on the rung. Behind it, two more aliens reached the ladder base, looking up. Ralph leaned forward slightly, peering down like a king reviewing petitioners. The lead alien hiss-clicked, angry now, and surged upward. Ralph struck. He didn't swat. He hooked the alien's muzzle with both front paws and pulled hard, while his back paws braced against the platform's edge. The alien's head snapped sideways. It lost its grip. It fell. Not all the way. Its claws caught a rung below, but the jolt wrenched it, and it hung there, clicking in pain. Ralph stared down, unblinking. The alien's pupils widened. It let go. It dropped the rest of the way, landing in a crouch, then stumbling back as if the ground had betrayed it. The other aliens at the base clicked rapidly. They didn't like this. Height removed their advantage. Up here, they couldn't circle, couldn't flank. Elias grabbed the comm tower's emergency flare launcher, an old, dusty device meant for search and rescue. He popped the safety seal, heart pounding. Jun watched with huge eyes. "What are you doing?" "Calling everyone," Elias said. He fired. The flare screamed upward, a bright blue-white streak, then burst above the tower into a hard, pulsing beacon. Instantly, the yard below lit in shifting blue, throwing the aliens' camouflage into useless chaos. They shriek-clicked, momentarily disoriented. Elias keyed his mic. "Mara! Visual marker deployed! Hostiles at comm tower, multiple breaches!" Mara's reply came sharp. "Copy! Eyes on your flare! Hold position, we're moving!" Gunfire intensified in the distance, closer now. The aliens below regrouped quickly. Predators adapted. One alien moved away from the ladder and climbed onto a stacked crate pile, using it as a springboard to reach the platform's underside. Claws scraped metal as it sought a handhold. Elias saw it and swore. "They're not coming up the ladder." Jun's voice trembled. "They're coming up the tower." Ralph heard it too. He moved to the platform edge where the scratching sounded, peering down. The alien's head appeared over the lip, eyes bright, triumphant, and Ralph slapped it with one paw. Just once. A casual, dismissive strike. The alien's head snapped back. It lost its grip. It fell, hitting the crate pile, then the ground, rolling in a stunned heap. The pack below clicked in frustration. Then the air beside the tower shimmered. Elias's heart stopped. A seam was forming up here, a direct breach to the platform bypassing the climb. "Ralph!" Jun cried. Ralph turned toward the new shimmer, fur rising higher. The seam widened. A larger alien stepped through, heavier in build, scars etched across its stone-matte skin. Its eyes locked on Ralph with cold focus, not hunger. This one wasn't a hunter. This one was a collector. It clicked once, deep, commanding. The smaller aliens below answered immediately, posture shifting. They weren't just chasing now, they were obeying. The collector took one step toward Ralph. Elias raised the pry bar. "Back off!" The collector ignored him. It crouched, shoulders bunching, ready to pounce. Ralph didn't retreat. He stepped forward, meeting it. Two apex intentions colliding on a narrow platform high above a colony under siege. Below, Marines' weapons fire drew nearer, too slow, still too far. Jun clutched the railing, crying silently. Elias tightened his grip until his knuckles hurt, and the collector lunged. The collector's leap was terrifyingly controlled. It launched with perfect economy, no wasted motion, no roar, just a predatory certainty aimed at Ralph like a spear. Ralph moved first. He slid sideways at the last instant, letting the collector's claws rake air, then snapped forward and sank his teeth into the collector's forearm. The collector hiss-clicked, not in pain, more in surprise, like it hadn't expected anything to bite back. It swung its other arm, trying to fling Ralph away. Ralph held on. Elias surged forward and brought the pry bar down, striking the collector's shoulder joint. The impact rang out. The collector staggered, twisted, and Ralph finally let go, landing lightly on the deck. Jun cried out, "Ralph!" Ralph's fur bristled. He growled, deep, vibrating, eyes locked on the collector's throat. The collector straightened. It was bigger than the others and smarter in the way its eyes tracked. Ralph, then Elias, then Jun. It assessed the triangle of threat and leverage. It clicked once, then pointed at Jun. A threat made universal. The small one breaks first. Elias stepped between them instinctively. The collector lunged again, not at Ralph this time, but at Elias, claws swinging. Elias blocked with the pry bar. Metal screamed against claw. The force jolted up his arms, nearly ripping the bar from his hands. He stumbled backward into the comm console housing. Jun screamed. Ralph launched at the collector's face. Claws raked across its eyes. The collector recoiled, one hand up, clicking in furious bursts. It swung blindly, caught Ralph's side with a glancing hit, and Ralph skidded across the deck. Jun sobbed, reaching out. "Ralph!" Ralph got up immediately, but his movement was tighter now, a half step slower. Elias felt something hot and awful twist in his chest. He grabbed the flare launcher's remaining cartridge, one last shot, and aimed it at the seam the collector had used. The shimmer was still open, unstable. Elias fired. The flare slammed into the distortion and detonated in a burst of white-blue light inside the seam. The shimmer convulsed like a wound cauterized. The opening narrowed, flickering. The collector froze, head snapping toward the seam, suddenly aware its exit was failing. Ralph saw the hesitation. He advanced, slow, deliberate, tail low, eyes like molten gold. The collector backed up a step. Below, the smaller aliens clicked in confusion, their command structure wobbling. Ralph hissed, sharp, final. The collector's shoulders tightened. Pride fought survival in its posture. Then the colony's sky lit with new streaks, human weapons fire arcing upward as Marines finally got angle. Mara's voice roared over comms. "Tower team, hold! We have you!" Rounds struck the tower's lower supports. The smaller aliens scattered. The collector made a decision. It lunged for Ralph one last time, trying to seize, to capture, to end this humiliation with proof. Ralph didn't dodge. He met it head-on. He leapt onto the collector's chest and drove his claws in, anchoring. The collector snarled silently and tried to wrench him free. Elias saw the edge of the platform behind the collector, empty air beyond. He acted. He slammed the pry bar into the collector's knee joint. The collector's leg buckled, its weight shifted. Ralph released and sprang backward. The collector stumbled, one step, two, arms windmilling. Its heel hit the platform lip. For a heartbeat, it balanced, eyes wide with something like disbelief. Then it fell. Down past the tower rail, down through pulsing flare light, down into the yard where its pack looked up and clicked in frantic alarm. It hit the ground hard enough to kick up dust. The smaller aliens hesitated. Leader down, collector broken, then began retreating toward the seams, clicking rapidly. The seam on the platform flickered again, trying to reopen. Elias fired the last of the flare launcher directly into it, blasting it with light. The shimmer spasmed and sealed. Silence returned to the platform, broken only by June's sobbing and Elias's ragged breathing. Ralph stood near June, side heaving slightly. A thin, dark line showed through white fur where the collector's hit had landed. June crawled to him and wrapped his arms around him gently this time, careful of the wound. "I thought you—" June choked. Ralph purred anyway. A quiet, steady motor. Below, Marines surged into the yard, weapons trained. Maracade reached the tower base and looked up, face hard. "Captain, status!" Elias leaned over the rail. "Child safe. Ralph injured but mobile. Hostiles retreating." Mara's gaze flicked upward, then back to the sky. "Hold. Our frigate just got a lock. The aliens aren't getting away this time." Elias looked up. The clouds above Astor Vale rippled, not with seams now, but with the faint glow of incoming human craft. The military was arriving in force, and the predators who had followed them across space were about to learn another rule. Some prey travel with claws. The first human strike came from orbit. Astor Vale's escort frigate, silent and patient above the clouds, released a tight fan of interceptors that dropped like meteors, their thrusters carving white scars through the sky. The colony's ground defenses coordinated instantly, turrets reorienting, drones rising to form a net. The aliens tried to leave the way they'd arrived. Seams opened along the ridges and above the settlement, thin, trembling slits in reality, snapping wide and shut, as if the universe itself was flinching. Alien shapes sprinted for them, clicking in sharp bursts. But the human military had learned fast. Interceptors fired into the seams, not aiming for bodies, but for the distortion itself. Pulsed energy slammed into the unzipped edges, causing the openings to stutter and collapse mid-escape. One alien dove toward a seam that folded shut like a mouth, leaving it skidding in dust, claws scrabbling in panic. On the comm tower platform, Elias held Jun close with one arm and watched the yard below through the rail. Ralph sat between them, posture tall despite the dark line on his side. His ears tracked every sound like a radar dish. Mara's voice came over the tower speaker, steady now. "All units, push them outward. Do not let them regroup. Priority is seam suppression. Secondary is elimination." Below, Marines advanced in disciplined lines, herding the aliens away from civilian shelters toward open ground where drones and turrets had clear arcs. The aliens fought like predators cornered, fast, vicious, desperate, but their coordination was breaking. Without the collector, their clicks became chaos. One alien made it to the base of the comm tower and looked up, eyes bright with hate. Ralph leaned over the rail and stared down. The alien froze as if struck. It clicked once, uncertain. Ralph yawned. The alien backed away. Jun let out a wet laugh through tears. "He's doing it again." Elias exhaled, shaking his head. "Yeah, kid, he's doing it again." A deep rumble rolled across the sky. The frigate's main cannon fired, a single, controlled discharge that struck the ridgeline where the largest seam had opened. The impact didn't explode, it compressed, a shock wave that made the air shimmer, and the seam collapsed like a crushed bubble. The remaining aliens scattered, but there was nowhere left to scatter to. Interceptors swept low, cutting off retreat. Drones pinned angles. Marines tightened the perimeter. Within minutes, the clicking faded from hunting cadence to frantic noise, then to silence. Astor Vale's alarms shifted from attack tones to the long, steady note of all clear, followed by a calm message across the boards. Threat neutralized, civilians remain sheltered. Medical. To staging areas on the tower platform, Jun sagged against Elias, exhausted. "Is it over?" Elias watched the last seam flicker and die. "For today," he said. Maracade climbed onto the platform a few minutes later, boots ringing on metal. She took in the scene. Elias bruised, Jun trembling, Ralph bloodied but composed, and something softened in her eyes. "You kept him alive," she said to Elias, then glanced at Ralph. "Both of you." Elias gave a tired nod. He did most of it. Mara crouched and held out 2 fingers, careful. Ralph sniffed them, then pressed his forehead lightly against them. Brief. Official. Mara blinked, almost surprised. "Right," she murmured. "So that's what it feels like." Jun wiped his face. "Lieutenant, they came because of Ralph, didn't they?" Mara didn't lie to the child. "They followed the Kestrel Run," she said. "And yes, they were interested in him." Jun tightened his arms around Ralph again, protective. "They can't have him." Mara stood and looked out over the colony, where people were beginning to emerge from shelters like cautious animals after a storm. "Agreed," she said, "which is why Command is going to want your captain, your ship, and your cat under protective custody." Elias laughed once, empty. "My cat's going to hate that." Ralph flicked his tail like he'd heard and disapproved. Mara's gaze turned toward the sky. "Captain Vance," she said quietly, "we have a bigger problem. The aliens didn't flee randomly last time, and they didn't come randomly this time. They have corridors. They have method. That means there are more of them." Elias looked down at Ralph. The cat stared back, calm and sovereign, like the universe could send as many predators as it wanted, and he'd still hold a line. Jun whispered, "Ralph is going to protect us." Elias swallowed. "Or we're going to protect him," he said. Mara nodded. "Either way, this is no longer a cargo story." She looked at Ralph one more time. "It's a war story." Ralph blinked once, slow, certain. Then he began purring, steady as an engine, while Astor Vale tried to pretend the universe outside its sky was still safe.